Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Jobu. And I want to thank all of you people who have subscribed to the Jobu Report. I am so blessed to have all of you following along. Well, with all of this new popularity, of course, there becomes a few people that maybe aren't quite as nice or think that I'm an idiot. Some people say, what's the deal with the doll? You're a fucking idiot. Okay, well, you don't know the story behind it. And before you make a judgment, understand what you're talking about. Jobu originally started out as a joke because I had an Eagle fan that once said the Dallas Cowboys suck so bad that Jobu couldn't help. And so I made it. And I took it around to a couple places, and all of a sudden some things started kind of happening. Like after the Super Bowl, last Super Bowl the Giants won, I showed up in New York, and the Giants ended up losing that game. I show up at Giants training camp with it the next year when we were there doing a photo shoot. And from that point on, the Giants kind of went downhill, and so on and so forth. And of course, people saw it, they took pictures of it, it became popular. His Facebook page has 5,000 fans that are on it, the people that follow him across the country. I remember being at the Super Bowl in Arizona last year, 2 years ago, and Calais Campbell comes up and said, "Hey, where's Jobu?" Tony Romo remembers it, and I still think that when he was talking about last year when he came back from injury and he said, "Let's go win the whole thing," that he was thinking about Jobu. We recreated that scene in Tony Romo's locker. And there's been all kinds of stuff. And if you check out my Facebook page, Cowboy Jobu, you can see some of the crazy stuff we've done. We literally did a road trip across the country doing photo shoots with United Way for their whole campaign, literally across the whole country. So as far as saying it's an idiot, yeah, maybe it's different. But I tell you what, it's memorable. Because if you see it, you'll remember it and you'll remember me. Now, as far as what I know about football, I played high school football, I played college football at James Madison with Gary Clark and with Charles Haley and things like that. And I've been around football all my life. Now, this one person who was a Cowboy fan who basically says, I know nothing about football. That's fine if you think I know nothing about football. There's plenty of other things you can watch on YouTube. But don't question my passion for the Dallas Cowboys. I have been a Dallas Cowboy fan since I was basically born into the family. My father, growing up in Northern Virginia, lived through segregation, and in fact, we were still fighting it when I was born in 1965. That's right, I'm the same age as the Super Bowl. The Washington Redskins were the last team to integrate, and there was no way in the world he was going to support them. So he went in the other direction with the Dallas Cowboys. And being a little kid, sitting on the couch watching my dad, I wanted to be just like him. And that's how I became a Dallas Cowboy fan. So, buddy, when you say you can name more Dallas Cowboy players than I can, buddy, I bet you I've worked with more Dallas Cowboy players than you can name. But hey, what do I know? I'm just an idiot with a doll. But I want to show you a little bit of Jobu's man cave and some of the stuff and the great people that I've got to meet and work with. Okay, so let's start over here with actually some of the people that Jobu's met. That's signed by Sean Lee, who wanted to take him home. This was actually in 2014, right after he had his knee surgery. He said he could use some good luck. Of course, my Tony Romo one, we got this one signed before the 2014 season and recreated the scene in Tony Romo's locker. George Selvey, right after signing this, he had a fantastic year. We had Charles Haley, of course. This is his Hall of Fame one. I have actually another one over there that's actually framed up too. It's also signed by him. And it's not just Dallas Cowboy players I've been fortunate to work with. Cam Newton, I actually drove him around for 3 days and watched Troy Polamalu and, of course, Roy Williams, Roberto Garza, John Vilma. Of course, Tony Dungy, got to meet him the night before the Super Bowl. And this was at Paul Tagliabue's final year as commissioner. His party in the 25th year in Detroit. Got to meet, of course, Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. Had, of course, Barry Sanders in the locker room in Detroit. Troy Aikman down on the field in Detroit for Thanksgiving. Doc Walker, Doug Williams. Some of the Super Bowl hats from Super Bowls I've gone to. And if you're in Dallas, of course, we have two stones. One in the Tom Landry section, the other one in the Danny White section. Well, we were down at Jason Witten's camp in Tennessee. DeMarcus Ware, we did a photo shoot in the locker room at Valley Ranch. My buddy Charles Haley actually played football at James Madison with him. Roger Staubach I met in the late 80s, and that's actually when I got that originally signed. That was at a commissioner's party. Dion, of course, and of course, going to Valley Ranch. And I've got plenty of all these hats are actually autographed. I've got Brandon Carr, Miles Austin, um, Danny White, Charles Haley's up there. I can't remember all. Ron Jaworski. This was actually a prank we pulled on a Eagle fan friend of mine, Tom Donnelly. He's known as a moron. But one of the greatest things that we got to do was actually in New Orleans. This is for the kickoff of the NFL season, the year after the Saints won the Super Bowl. And we were doing community builds, and we had 7 houses that we were working on. And that's me with the NFL commissioner. And we were actually hanging drywall together in about 98-degree weather. But as you can see, all of the Hall of Famers, from Floyd Little, John Randall, running back from Buffalo. It's just great, some of the people that I've gotten to work with. Over here, this is an original letter from the old stadium, Texas Stadium. Right after it closed, we had been down for the photo shoot with DeMarcus Ware, and I kind of walked up. I want to take a few pictures, and just happened to find a few of these letters. Don't tell Jerry Jones; he'll charge me for them. And over here, when this guy said that I couldn't believe that I was a Dallas Cowboy fan, I said before Roger Staubach. This button I have right here was from the first Super Bowl victory, and I wore that as a child at 7 years of age. And so we've got all kinds of different memorabilia. This is back when gas stations used to actually give you stuff. The gas stations around here in Washington ended up giving away Redskin glasses, and these collectible ones I actually ended up finding from someplace else. Now the football over here is actually signed by all the NFL players when we did our road trip for photo shoots 2 years ago. I mean, there's guys from Calais Campbell, Tyron Smith has signed that, Cam Newton, and of course I've got this one, Brandon Carr, my buddy. He came to DC for a youth symposium. The one down here, we worked with Willie Brown, a great Hall of Famer of the Raiders. And for you Redskin fans that may be trolling, actually I met Joe Gibbs and did some work with him, and that's autographed by him, as well as Paul Tagliabue. Now, as far as Joe Goo goes, like I said, it originally started off as a joke, but it kind of grew. And on Facebook, he's got over 5,000 friends and followers. And I've met tons and tons of great people, and I've done wonderful things that I don't think I probably would have done had it not been for him. This is a picture actually up on the set of PTI, and I do PTI a lot with Michael Wilbon, as much as he hates the Dallas Cowboys, but they're actually really cool people. This picture up here was actually taken at the Hall of Fame when Larry Allen was being inducted, and this was part of the opening commercial that they did for Showtime inside HBO. Tony Romo up on the stage for the Hall of Fame, Super Bowl in New Orleans. For you Eagle fans, in Philly at training camp, giving you guys the finger. And from time to time, you'll see me and him on TV. Hanson, Pro Bowl in Hawaii, Redskins training camp, giving them the finger, on the stage at the draft, and so on. So, when you say that I'm not a Dallas Cowboy fan, or I don't know football, or I'm not around football, football is a sport that it's hard to predict. Nobody gets it 100% right. What you do is you're basically forecasting. My forecasts usually are pretty good. I don't say that I get it right all the time, but before you start calling somebody an idiot and say they don't know what they are or what they do or whatever, take time to understand what it is that they actually do. And if you don't agree, just move it on. You don't have to watch the Jobu Report. But all of you guys that are, I want to thank you for being part of it, and keep spreading the mojo. Have a great day.